I stood in the parking lot of Mr. Chen's auto repair, juggling my purse and laptop bag, frustrated and running late. Grant had insisted I pick up my car tonight, before my flight to Seattle tomorrow morning. "You need it first thing," he'd said. "Can't risk any delays." I grabbed my purse strap to hoist it higher on my shoulder, but it slipped. The whole thing tumbled off my arm and hit the pavement, contents exploding everywhere. "Perfect," I muttered, kneeling down. Lipstick rolled under my SUV. My wallet landed face down in a puddle. Receipts scattered like confetti. My phone skittered toward the rear tire. I crawled partially under the car, reaching for my phone and the lipstick that had rolled impossibly far back. That's when I saw it. A small black device, about the size of a matchbox, attached magnetically to the underside of my chassis, near the rear wheel well. I froze, my hand still outstretched toward my lipstick. What was that? I pulled myself out from under the car and knelt there, staring at the device from a different angle. It had a small blinking red light, sleek, professional looking, definitely not a part of my car's normal equipment. My heart started pounding. I reached back under and carefully detached it. The magnet released with a soft click. The device sat in my palm, surprisingly heavy. The red light continued blinking. Active. Transmitting. A GPS tracker. Someone had put a GPS tracker on my car. My mind raced through possibilities. Random crime? But this was a nice neighborhood. And the tracker looked expensive, sophisticated. Not something a random criminal would use for what? Stealing a 3-year-old SUV? Then the obvious answer hit me like ice water. Grant. My husband had insisted on the safety check. Had taken my car to Mr. Chen's shop himself. Had been weirdly intense about making sure I picked it up tonight. My husband, who had been asking increasingly detailed questions about my work trips. My husband, who always seemed to know exactly where I was. I stood there in the parking lot, holding the tracker, my scattered purse contents still on the ground around me. I should call him. Confront him. Demand an explanation. But something stopped me. Instead, a different idea formed. Cold, calculated. If Grant wanted to track my movements, I'd give him something to track. I looked up and saw a large semi-truck pulling out of the parking lot, heading toward the exit. The logo on its side showed a shipping company. I recognized one, that ran long-haul routes up the coast. Without thinking it through, I walked quickly toward the truck as it slowed at the parking lot exit, waiting for traffic. The driver was a woman in her 50s. She rolled down her window, looking concerned. "Everything okay?" I held up the tracker and smiled. "This fell off my car. I think it might have gotten stuck to your truck by accident when we were parked near each other. Would you mind if I just put it back where it belongs?" She looked confused but shrugged. "Sure, I guess." I walked to the rear of the semi-truck. My hands shook as I reached under and pressed the magnetic tracker firmly against the truck's chassis. It attached with a solid click. "Thanks," I called to the driver. She waved and pulled out onto the highway, heading north. I watched the truck disappear into traffic, the tracker now traveling away from me at 70 miles per hour. According to the company logo, those trucks ran routes all the way up to the Canadian border. I stood there for a moment, breathing hard, processing what I'd just done. Then I calmly gathered my scattered belongings. Lipstick, wallet, phone, keys. Got in my car, drove home. When I walked through the door, Grant was making dinner, looking relaxed and normal. "Hey, got your car back? Everything good?" "Yeah, all set. Mr. Chen said everything looks fine." I watched him carefully. He smiled, turned back to chopping vegetables. "Great. I feel so much better knowing your car is safe for tomorrow's trip." I set my purse down, my heart still racing. "Thanks for arranging it," I said. My voice sounded normal, calm. Inside, I was screaming. That night, I packed for Seattle while Grant watched TV. I didn't mention the tracker. Didn't confront him. Didn't let on that I knew anything. I just packed my suitcase and acted like everything was fine. The next morning, I kissed Grant goodbye, loaded my car, and drove toward the airport. My phone sat in the cup holder. I knew my location was visible to him, it always was. But the tracker? The tracker was somewhere in Oregon by now. Maybe Washington, moving farther north with every passing hour. Eventually, Grant would check it, would see that my phone location and my car location didn't match, and he would panic. I gripped the steering wheel tighter, a cold smile on my face. Good. Let him panic. Let him reveal exactly what he'd done. The next morning, my phone rang at 6:47 a.m. Grant's name on the screen. I answered, making my voice sleepy. Hello? Lauren? Where are you? His voice was high-pitched, frantic, panicked, and I knew I had him. 6 months earlier, I sat at the kitchen table having breakfast before my flight to San Francisco. Grant was across from me, eating cereal, scrolling through his phone. What time is your meeting with Owen? He asked casually. 2:00. Why? Just curious. What hotel are you staying at again? The Hilton near Union Square. Same one as always. He nodded, eyes still on his phone. Will you have dinner with Owen? I looked up from my bagel. Probably. We usually grab dinner after long strategy sessions. Why all the questions? Just want to know you're safe. That you have people around. He glanced up, smiled. Is Owen staying at the same hotel? Something in his tone made me pause. I have no idea where Owen stays. Why would I know that? Grant backtracked quickly. I just mean, it's good you have colleagues nearby, in case something happens. You know, safety. The conversation moved on, but a small seed of discomfort planted itself in my mind. Over the next months, the questions became more frequent. Every trip, Grant wanted details. Which clients was I meeting? Where exactly? What time? Who else would be there? He started calling multiple times during my work trips. If I didn't answer immediately, he'd call again. And again. I was in a meeting, I'd explain. For 3 hours? You couldn't text me back? Grant, I was working. That's what I do on work trips. He'd apologize. Say he just worried about me traveling alone. One evening over wine, I mentioned it to my best friend Kelsey. He calls you how many times a day when you travel? She asked. Her lawyer instincts immediately alert. I don't know. 5? 6? Lauren, that's not normal concern. That's controlling behavior. I bristled. He's just worried because I travel so much. Does he track your location? Of course not. That would be crazy. Kelsey set down her wine glass. Check your phone right now. Look at your location settings. I pulled out my phone, went to settings, and felt my stomach drop. Location sharing was on, set to share continuously with Grant. I don't remember turning this on. Did Grant set up your new phone when you upgraded in January? He had. I'd been busy with a client deadline, and Grant had offered to transfer everything and set up my new phone for me. He could have enabled it then, Kelsey said carefully. Lauren, combined with the constant check-ins and detailed questions about every move you make, this is surveillance. He's my husband, he worries. That's not surveillance. It is when you didn't consent to it, when you didn't even know about it. We argued. I defended Grant. Kelsey pushed back, saying her job as a divorce attorney showed her these patterns all the time. The conversation ended tensely, but I started paying attention. I noticed Grant checking his phone constantly when I was out, glancing at it, then at me. I caught him looking at my messages when I left my phone on the counter. When I mentioned a male colleague named Chris casually over dinner, Grant went quiet, withdrawn, moody the rest of the evening. 2 weeks before the tracker incident, Grant brought up Owen directly. You're meeting with him again next week? That's the 3rd time this month. He's my biggest client, Grant. Of course I meet with him frequently. Does his wife know how much time you two spend together? I stared at him. Are you seriously suggesting I'm having an affair with Owen? He's married with 3 kids. He's completely professional. I'm just saying it looks suspicious. All this travel, all these private meetings. It's my job. Maybe you should consider getting different clients, ones that don't require so much personal attention. We had our first real fight. I was furious at the accusation. Grant eventually apologized, but the words hung between us. The trust had cracked. The week of my Seattle trip, Grant became increasingly anxious. He asked repeatedly about my itinerary, who would be at the meetings, where exactly I'd be staying. I gave short answers, still angry from our fight. 2 days before my departure, Grant came home looking serious. I was talking to Jim at work. His wife's car had brake failure on the highway. Got me thinking about your car. My car is fine. When's the last time you had it serviced? You're driving to the airport, parking for days, driving back. I just want everything checked. I had it serviced 2 months ago. But you're putting lots of miles on it. Brakes, tires, alignment, these wear out. I'd feel better if you let me take it to Mr. Chen's for a safety check. His insistence felt wrong somehow. I don't have time. I leave Friday. I'll take it tomorrow. Mr. Chen can rush it. You can pick it up Thursday evening. His eyes were intense, almost desperate. Please, Lauren. After our fight, I've been worried. Just let me do this one thing for peace of mind. I agreed, partly to avoid another argument, partly feeling guilty about our fight. The next morning, Grant took my car to the shop. Thursday evening, I got the call that it was ready. When I arrived, Mr. Chen seemed uncomfortable going through the service report. Is everything okay? I asked. He hesitated. Your husband asked me to install something, a tracking device, GPS. My blood went cold. Did you? No, I refused. It didn't feel right. But Mrs. Lauren, I don't know if he found someone else to do it. I thought you should know. I paid, got in my car, my hands shaking. Then my purse slipped, and I found out Grant hadn't needed someone else. He'd done it himself. I drove home from Mr. Chen's shop gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. The tracker was gone attached to a semi-truck heading north. But my phone's location sharing was still on. Grant could still see where I was through that. I needed to think strategically. Couldn't let emotion cloud my judgment. When I pulled into our driveway, Grant was in the kitchen making dinner. He looked up with a smile. Hey, got your car back? Everything okay? I forced my voice to sound normal. Yeah, all set. Mr. Chen said everything looks good. Great. Grant stirred something on the stove. I feel so much better knowing your car is safe for tomorrow. The manipulation in those words was crystal clear now. Every expression of concern had been cover for control. Thanks for arranging it, I said, watching him carefully. He seemed relaxed, unsuspicious. He had no idea I'd found the tracker. That evening, I packed for Seattle, while Grant watched TV in the living room. I folded clothes mechanically, my mind racing. I needed to know the full extent of what he'd done before I made any moves. In the bathroom, I locked the door and examined my phone thoroughly. I opened every settings menu. Location sharing on, continuously shared with Grant. I took screenshots. Then I started looking for apps I didn't recognize. My stomach turned as I found them. A location tracker app I'd never installed. A message backup service sending copies somewhere. A photo sync app configured to an email address I didn't recognize. Grant hadn't just been tracking my location. He'd been reading my messages, looking at my photos, monitoring everything. My hands shook with rage and violation, but I forced myself to stay calm. I took screenshots of everything and emailed them to a private account Grant didn't know about. Then I left all the settings exactly as they were. If I changed them now, he'd know I'd discovered his surveillance. I needed him to reveal himself completely first. The next morning, Friday, I woke early and went through the motions of leaving for Seattle. I'd called Owen the night before, explained I had a personal emergency, and rescheduled our meetings. He'd been understanding, told me to take care of whatever I needed. Now I loaded my suitcase into my car, while Grant watched from the doorway. Drive safe. Call me when you land. I kissed him goodbye, tasting the lie in it. Then I drove toward the airport, but I didn't go to the airport. I drove to Kelsey's house instead. She answered the door in her bathrobe, coffee in hand, looking surprised. Lauren, aren't you supposed to be flying to Seattle? I need to tell you something. You were right. About Grant. About everything. I showed her the screenshots. Told her about the tracker, about Mr. Chen's warning. Kelsey's face went from shocked to furious to professionally focused. Okay. First, you're staying here this weekend. Second, we're documenting everything. Third, we're changing your locks while Grant thinks you're in Seattle. Kels. I attached the tracker to a truck heading to Canada. She stared at me, then burst out laughing. Oh my God, that's brilliant. Where does Grant think you are right now? I checked my phone. Based on my location, I'm at the airport. And based on the tracker? We pulled up a GPS tracking website and entered the tracker's ID number I'd photographed. A map loaded. A dot moved rapidly north on Interstate 5, currently passing through Olympia, Washington. Kelsey grinned. He's going to panic when those locations don't match. The phone will show you in Seattle. The car tracker will show you heading to Canada. Good, I said, my voice hard. Let him panic. Let him show me exactly what he's been doing. We spent the day documenting everything. Kelsey took photos of my phone screenshots. We made copies of Mr. Chen's service records. We compiled a timeline of Grant's increasingly controlling behavior. When do you think he'll notice? Kelsey asked that evening. Tomorrow morning, probably. He'll check where I am, see the discrepancy, and freak out. What are you going to do when he calls? Play dumb. Act like I'm in Seattle. See how he tries to explain his panic without admitting to the tracker. Kelsey nodded approvingly. You're thinking like a lawyer. I'm proud of you. That night, I barely slept. I kept imagining Grant at home, checking his tracking apps, seeing my phone in Seattle but my car in British Columbia, his mind trying to make sense of it. At 6:47 a.m., my phone rang. Kelsey appeared in the doorway of the guest room. It's showtime, I answered, making my voice sleepy and confused. Hello? Lauren, where are you? Grant's voice was panicked, high-pitched, desperate. I sat up, glancing at Kelsey, who was already recording on her own phone. What? I'm in Seattle. In my hotel room. Why are you calling so early? What hotel? Which one exactly? The Marriott downtown, like I told you. Grant, what's wrong? Are you sure? Are you absolutely sure that's where you are? His desperation was almost funny. Almost. Yes, I'm sure. I'm literally looking at the hotel room right now. Why are you asking me this? There was a long pause. I could practically hear his mind working, trying to figure out how to explain without revealing the tracker. Your car, he started, then stopped. I mean, have you driven anywhere this morning? Driven? No. My car is in the airport parking garage where I left it. Grant, you're scaring me. What's going on? Another pause. Longer this time. I had a weird dream that something happened to you, that you were somewhere dangerous. I needed to hear your voice. The lie was so transparent it made me sick. A dream? You're calling me at 6 a.m. because of a dream. I'm sorry. I've just been worried. I know we fought before you left. Grant, I'm fine. I'm in my hotel. Everything is okay. Can you send me a picture of the room, just so I can see you're safe? My stomach turned. You want me to prove I'm where I said I am? No, I just miss you. This is weird, Grant. Really weird. I'm going back to sleep. I hung up before he could respond. Kelsey stopped recording, her eyes wide. He actually asked you to prove your location. Because the tracker is telling him I'm in Canada, but my phone says Seattle. He doesn't know which one is lying. My phone started buzzing with texts. I'm sorry for calling so early. I've just been thinking about us. I love you. Each message made my skin crawl. He's panicking, Kelsey observed. And now he's trying to manipulate you back. Another call came through. I didn't answer. Then another. Finally, a voicemail. I played it on speaker. Grant's voice was shaking. Lauren, please call me back. Something feels wrong. I need to know you're okay. Please. Kelsey checked the tracker location again. It's in Vancouver now. That truck driver is really moving. My phone rang again. This time it was Owen, my client. Hey Lauren, quick question about next week. Grant's call interrupted. I sent him to voicemail and finished talking to Owen. When I hung up, there were 4 more missed calls from Grant. The last voicemail was different. His voice was cold now. Angry. I know you're lying about where you are. I don't know what you're doing or who you're with, but when you get home, we're going to have a very serious conversation. Kelsey played it back. That's a threat. You hear that tone? I nodded, feeling cold. What do I do? You stay here. You document everything. And Monday, we file for a restraining order. I looked at my phone, at Grant's name filling my missed calls list. I need to call him back. Tell him I know. Are you ready? I took a deep breath. I'm ready. I dialed Grant's number with shaking hands. He answered before the first ring finished. Where are you really? No greeting. No pretense. I'm at Kelsey's house. I never went to Seattle. Silence. Then his voice came back tight and controlled. Why would you lie about that? Why would you put a tracker on my car, Grant? The silence was deafening. I don't know what you're... Mr. Chen told me you tried to have him install a GPS tracker. When he refused, you did it yourself. I found it Thursday when I picked up my car. Lauren. I can explain. And the apps on my phone, the location sharing I never enabled, the message backup, the photo sync. You've been spying on me for months. It's not spying when you're my wife. His voice rose, defensive. Angry. You're traveling constantly, meeting with Owen alone, coming home late. What was I supposed to think? You were supposed to trust me. How can I trust you when you're always gone? When you spend more time with Owen than with me. He's my client, Grant. This is my job. You're emotionally cheating. Maybe not physically, but emotionally. I can tell. I laughed, but it was bitter, harsh. You've created an entire affair in your head, one that doesn't exist. And instead of talking to me like an adult, you violated my privacy and tracked my every move. I needed to know the truth. The truth is, I've never cheated on you. Never even thought about it. But you've been so consumed with jealousy that you couldn't see that. If you're not cheating, why did you lie about Seattle? Why is your tracker showing you're in Canada? I paused. Let the moment hang. Because I found the tracker and attached it to a semi-truck. I wanted to see how long it would take you to panic and reveal what you'd done. The gasp on the other end was audible. You did that on purpose? Yes, and it worked perfectly. You showed me exactly who you are, Grant. Someone who doesn't trust me. Someone who needs to control and monitor me, instead of just talking to me. I was trying to protect our marriage. You destroyed it. The moment you put that tracker on my car, you destroyed it. His voice changed. Became pleading. Lauren. Please. I know I went too far. But I love you. We can fix this. Counseling. Therapy. Whatever you need. What I need is a husband who trusts me. You're not that person. I can change. No, you can't. Because you don't even think you did anything wrong. Even now, you're making excuses. Blaming me for traveling, blaming Owen for existing, blaming everything except your own insecurity. So, you're just giving up on us. You gave up on us when you chose surveillance over trust. I took a breath. Steadied myself. I'm filing for divorce. Kelsey is helping me find an attorney. Don't contact me except through lawyers. Don't come to Kelsey's house. Don't track me. It's over. You can't do this. Watch me. I hung up. My whole body was shaking. Kelsey stood in the doorway, arms crossed, looking both proud and concerned. You okay? No, but I will be. Within an hour, the messages started. Texts. Emails. Voicemails. Each one cycling through the same pattern. Anger, blame, pleading, promises. You're overreacting. This is all Owen's fault. I gave you everything and you threw it away. We can fix this if you just come home. You're making the biggest mistake of your life. Kelsey documented every single one. That afternoon, I looked out the window and felt my blood run cold. Grant's car was parked across the street. Just sitting there, watching the house, Kelsey. She came to the window, saw the car, and immediately pulled out her phone. That's it. I'm calling the police. A patrol officer arrived 20 minutes later. I watched from the window as he approached Grant's car, spoke to him through the window. Grant gestured, clearly explaining himself. The officer pointed down the street. After a few minutes, Grant started his car and drove away. The officer came to Kelsey's door. He says he was just concerned about his wife. I told him to leave and not come back. If he returns, call us immediately. After the officer left, my phone buzzed. A text from Grant. I can't believe you call the cops on me. On your own husband. Then another. This is what Kelsey wants. She's turning you against me. And another. You'll regret this, Lauren. That last message made Kelsey call someone from her office. An hour later, Detective Harris arrived, a woman in her 40s, with kind but sharp eyes. I showed her everything. The tracker I'd photographed before attaching it to the truck, the screenshots of the apps, the messages, the recording of this morning's phone call. Detective Harris took notes, photographed everything, copied the screenshots to her tablet. This is stalking, she said finally. The tracker, the unauthorized monitoring apps, the obsessive contact, showing up here, this is a clear pattern of harassing behavior. Can you do anything? I asked. We can file a report. I can visit him and make it clear this needs to stop. And you can file for a restraining order. I want the restraining order. Now. Detective Harris nodded. I'll help you file the paperwork Monday morning. That night, I tried to sleep in Kelsey's guest room but couldn't. Every sound made me jump. Every car passing by made me check the window. At 11:30 p.m., my phone lit up with one final text from Grant. You haven't seen the end of this. I showed it to Kelsey. She screenshot it, added it to the folder of evidence, and looked at me seriously. Monday morning, first thing, we're getting that restraining order. And you're not going anywhere alone until we do. I nodded, clutching my phone, wondering how my marriage had turned into this. How the man I'd trusted had become someone I needed legal protection from. And how a small GPS tracker had revealed the truth I'd been too blind to see. Monday morning, I sat in Detective Harris's office filling out paperwork for a temporary restraining order. My hand cramped from writing, but I documented everything, every incident, every message, every violation of my privacy. Detective Harris reviewed the evidence, the tracker photos, the app screenshots, the recordings, the threatening messages. This is one of the clearer cases I've seen, she said. The judge will grant this. She was right. By noon, I had a temporary restraining order. Grant was served with papers that afternoon at his office. He was ordered to stay at least 500 feet away from me, to cease all contact except through attorneys, and to surrender any tracking devices or monitoring equipment. I felt a small measure of relief. It lasted exactly 6 hours. That night at 11 p.m., I was still at Kelsey's house when my phone buzzed with a security alert. I'd installed a camera system at my own apartment, the one I hadn't been back to since finding the tracker. The apartment I'd shared with Grant. The camera showed Grant standing outside my door, trying his key in the lock. It didn't work. Kelsey had helped me change the locks over the weekend. I watched on my phone as Grant tried the key again, then started pounding on the door. Lauren, open up. We need to talk. You can't just kick me out of my marriage. His voice was loud enough that the camera's audio picked it up clearly. My hands shook as I called Detective Harris. She answered immediately. What happened? He's at my apartment, violating the restraining order. I have it on video. I'm sending units now. Don't go there. Stay where you are. I watched on my phone as 2 police cars arrived within minutes. Officers approached Grant. He was still at my door, still demanding I let him in. When the officers identified themselves, Grant turned, and I could see his face on camera. Shock? Then anger? Then fear. They handcuffed him. I watched my husband, soon-to-be ex-husband, get arrested on my doorstep. He spent the night in jail. The next morning, Kelsey got a call from Grant's attorney. He wants to make a deal, she told me after hanging up. Grant will agree to a quick, uncontested divorce with an equitable split if you don't press charges for the restraining order violation. What do you think I should do? That depends. Do you want him to have a criminal record, or do you want to be free of him as quickly as possible? I thought about it. About months of court battles, about seeing him over and over in legal proceedings. I want him to get help. Not for me. For whoever he's with next. We can require counseling as part of the settlement. Then yes, I want out. Fast. But he has to attend therapy. Grant's attorney agreed to the terms. The divorce moved forward quickly. Grant moved out of our apartment. I put it on the market and found a smaller place that was entirely mine. Throughout the process, Grant's emails came through his attorney. Sometimes angry. You ruined everything we built. Sometimes pleading, is there any chance you'd reconsider? But slowly, something shifted. The court-mandated therapy seemed to be working. Or maybe just facing real consequences for his actions changed something. 3 months later, the divorce was final. I was legally free. Kelsey took me out for dinner to celebrate. How does it feel? She asked, raising her glass. Like I can breathe again. My phone buzzed. I tensed automatically, but it was just a work email from a new client. Not Grant. Never Grant anymore. You still jump every time your phone buzzes, Kelsey observed. I know, I'm working on it. It'll take time. What he did was trauma. Surveillance, control, stalking that doesn't just go away overnight. She was right. Some nights I still checked under my car before driving. Still looked over my shoulder in parking lots. Still felt anxious when my phone rang. But it was getting better. I threw myself into work, took on new clients, started rebuilding my sense of safety and independence. Owen, the client Grant had been so paranoid about, sent me a message checking in. Heard you've been going through some personal stuff. Just wanted to say you're one of the best consultants I've worked with. Hope everything is okay. Professional. Kind. Completely platonic. Everything Grant's paranoid mind couldn't accept. I responded with thanks and moved on. 2 months after the divorce was final, I went on my first date. A guy named Andrew I'd met at a networking event. He was normal, asked about my work without interrogating me, suggested meeting for coffee without demanding to know my exact schedule. When I got home that night, there was no barrage of texts asking where I'd been, no demands to explain, no tracking, just silence. Beautiful, peaceful silence. I checked my phone's location settings out of habit. Still off. Still private. Checked under my car the next morning. Nothing. Slowly, I was reclaiming my life. 6 months after the tracker incident, an email appeared in my inbox. From Grant. Not his attorney. Grant himself. I almost deleted it without reading. But Kelsey convinced me to at least look with her present. The email was short. Lauren, I'm not writing to ask you back or to make excuses. My therapist suggested I acknowledge the harm I caused. You were right about everything. I was controlling. Paranoid. I violated your privacy and trust. I told myself I was protecting our marriage, but I was destroying it. I'm working on understanding why I felt so threatened by your success, why I needed to monitor instead of trust. I'm sorry for what I put you through. You deserved better. I hope you're doing well. Grant. I read it twice. Felt. Nothing. No anger. No sadness. Just distant recognition. Are you going to respond? Kelsey asked. No. But I'm glad he's getting help. I meant it, not for me, but for whoever came after me. I closed the email and didn't think about it again. A year after finding the tracker, I was thriving. My business had grown. I'd taken on major new clients. I was traveling again freely, without fear, without surveillance. I dated casually. Met people who respected my independence. One evening, Kelsey raised a glass at dinner. To the semi-truck that went to Canada. I laughed. To the semi-truck. Seriously though, attaching the tracker to that truck instead of just throwing it away? Genius. I was so angry. But the anger made me think clearly, made me strategic. How do you feel now? I considered the question. Free, that's the word. I feel free. I woke up one Saturday morning, a year and a half after the divorce, and realized I hadn't checked under my car in weeks. The hypervigilance was finally fading. I made coffee, checked my phone, and saw a message from Andrew, the guy I'd been seeing casually for 3 months. Hiking trip this weekend. No agenda, just exploring. You in? No demands. No detailed itinerary requests. No questions about who else might be there. Just a simple invitation. I smiled and typed back, yes. That afternoon, I met Kelsey for lunch at our favorite cafe. You look good, she said, studying me. Really good. Lighter. I feel lighter. How are things with Andrew? Good. Normal. He's just easy. Respectful. Doesn't need to know my every move. Kelsey grinned. That's called a healthy relationship. Remember those? I laughed. But she was right. I'd forgotten what normal felt like. My phone buzzed. A work email from Owen's company about a new project. Still working with Owen? Kelsey asked. Yep. And his wife sent me a holiday card last year, with their whole family on it. Grant would have lost his mind. Grant lost his mind over things that didn't even exist. She was right. The affair Grant had been so convinced of had never happened. Never even come close to happening. He'd created an entire narrative in his head, and then violated my privacy trying to prove it. Do you ever wonder what he's doing now? Kelsey asked. Not really. His therapist emails mine sometimes for coordinating things. Apparently he's still in therapy. Dating someone new. Think he's tracking her? I hope not. I hope he actually learned something. But I didn't think about it much. Grant was part of my past now. A chapter closed. My business continued growing. I hired an assistant to help manage my expanding client roster. I took a 2-week trip to Portugal alone, and didn't tell anyone my exact itinerary. Just went, explored, enjoyed the freedom of wandering without reporting to anyone. When I got back, Andrew asked how it was. Amazing. I'll show you pictures sometime. That was it. No interrogation about where I stayed or who I met or what I did every single day. Just genuine interest and trust. One evening, I was cleaning out old files on my laptop and found the folder of evidence from the divorce. Screenshots of the tracking apps. Photos of the GPS device. Recordings of Grant's panicked phone calls. I stared at that folder for a long time. Then I archived it. Didn't delete it, I might need it someday, but moved it out of sight. I didn't need to look at it anymore. 2 years after finding the tracker, I was having dinner with my parents when my dad asked about Grant. Do you ever regret the divorce? I thought about it honestly. No, I regret that the marriage failed. But I don't regret leaving. I learned what I will and won't accept. I learned that my independence isn't selfish, it's essential. My mum squeezed my hand. We're proud of you, for recognizing the problem and getting out. I almost didn't. I almost convinced myself his behavior was normal, that I was overreacting. But you didn't, my dad said. You trusted your instincts. That night, driving home, I thought about the moment I'd found the tracker, how violated I'd felt, how angry, how hurt, but also how clear it had made everything. That tiny device had revealed the truth I'd been too close to see. Grant's questions hadn't been concern, they'd been interrogation. His calls hadn't been love, they'd been surveillance. His need to know my location hadn't been protection, it had been control. The tracker had just made it undeniable. I pulled into my parking spot at my apartment building and sat for a moment. Out of habit, I glanced at the underside of my car. Nothing there. Just empty space. I grabbed my purse and headed inside, my phone in my pocket with location services off. My apartment was quiet, peaceful, mine, no one monitoring when I came or went, no one demanding explanations for my schedule, no one tracking my movements across the country. Just me, living my life on my own terms. I poured a glass of wine and sat on my balcony, looking out at the city lights. Somewhere out there, that semi-truck was probably still making runs up and down the coast, still carrying freight to Canada and back, completely unaware of the role it had played in my liberation. That tracker had been meant to trap me. Instead, it had freed me. Grant had wanted to know my every location, monitor my every move, control my every decision. Now he knew nothing about my life, and I preferred it that way. My phone buzzed with a text from Andrew. Thinking about you. Hope you had a good day. Sweet. Simple. No demands attached. I smiled and replied, Then I put my phone down and just sat there, breathing in the cool evening air. Free. Finally. Completely, utterly free. And it felt incredible. 3 years after I found the tracker, I stood in my new home office, a converted bedroom in a house I'd bought myself, looking at my business license on the wall. Lauren Mitchell Consulting. My full name. Not Lauren and Grant. Just me. My client roster had tripled. I'd hired 2 full-time consultants to work under me. I was traveling less now because clients came to me. I'd built something real. Something mine. Andrew and I had been together for over a year. Serious, but not rushed. He'd met my parents. I'd met his. Last week, he'd asked if I ever thought about getting married again. I'd been honest. Maybe someday, but I need time. What Grant did, it changed how I see things. I understand, I'm not going anywhere. And he meant it. No pressure, no ultimatums, just patience. That's how I knew he was different. One afternoon, my assistant brought me the mail. Mixed in with bills and business correspondence was a handwritten envelope, Grant's handwriting. I stared at it for a long moment, then opened it. Inside was a short letter. Lauren, I'm getting married next month. Before I do, I wanted you to know that the therapy you required as part of our divorce settlement changed my life. I've been working with Dr. Patterson for 3 years now. I understand what I did to you, the surveillance, the control, the paranoia. It was abuse. I called it love, but it was abuse. I'm writing because I want you to know I told Rebecca everything. About the tracker, the apps, the stalking. She knows who I was, and she's helped me understand why I became that person. We're in couples counseling together, learning healthy communication. She has full access to her own devices. I don't track her. I don't monitor her. I trust her. I wanted you to know that what you did requiring therapy, holding me accountable, it saved me. Maybe saved Rebecca too, from experiencing what you went through. I hope you're happy. I hope you found someone who deserves you, Grant. I read it twice, then set it down. Kelsey called that evening and I told her about the letter. How do you feel? Relieved, I think, that he actually got help, that he won't do to Rebecca what he did to me. You saved that woman from years of hell. Maybe. Or maybe he would have changed anyway. Don't diminish what you did, Lauren. You could have just divorced him and walked away. Instead, you required accountability. You made therapy a condition. That took courage. After we hung up, I thought about that. About the moment I'd found the tracker and made the split-second decision to attach it to that truck instead of just throwing it away. That decision had started everything. It had forced Grant to reveal himself, given me undeniable proof, led to the restraining order, the divorce, the required therapy, one small device, one strategic choice. That weekend, Andrew and I went hiking in the mountains. No itinerary, no check-ins, just exploration. We got lost on a trail, laughed about it, found our way back. On the drive home, Andrew asked, "Have you ever told me the full story about your ex?" I'd mentioned Grant in passing but never the details, so I told him. Everything. The tracker, the apps, the surveillance, the panic, the semi-truck. When I finished, Andrew was quiet for a moment. That must have been terrifying. It was. But it also taught me what I deserve, what I won't accept, which is trust. Real trust. Not surveillance disguised as love. He reached over and squeezed my hand. You have that with me. I hope you know that. I did know. Finally, I knew. That night, I did something I hadn't done in 3 years. I pulled up the archived folder of evidence from my divorce, looked at the photos of the tracker, the screenshots of the apps, the recordings of Grant's panicked calls. Then I permanently deleted it all. I didn't need it anymore. The restraining order had long since expired. The divorce was ancient history. Grant was getting remarried, and, apparently, had genuinely changed. I was happy, successful, free. The evidence had served its purpose. Now it was just taking up space. I emptied the trash folder on my computer, watching the files disappear. Then I checked my phone settings one last time. Location services. Off. Unless I chose to share. Apps. All ones I'd personally installed. Messages. Private. Photos. Mine. Everything as it should be. I walked to my car, a new one I'd bought myself last year, and glanced underneath out of pure habit. Nothing. Just empty chassis. I smiled and got in, drove to Andrew's apartment for dinner. When I arrived, he was cooking, music playing, completely unconcerned with where I'd been or what time I'd arrived. "How was your day?" he asked, kissing me hello. "Good, really good." And I meant it. Somewhere in Canada, that semi-truck was probably still running routes, still hauling freight, still completely unaware that 3 years ago it had carried a GPS tracker across the border and changed my life. That tracker had been meant to trap me, to control me, to prove Grant's paranoid suspicions. Instead, it had revealed the truth, had given me the evidence I needed, had set me free. I raised my glass at dinner. To new beginnings. Andrew clinked his against mine. To trust, I echoed. Real trust. Hard-won. Built on honesty and respect. Not surveillance, not monitoring, not control. Just two people choosing each other freely every single day. I'd learned the hard way that love shouldn't feel like prison, that concern shouldn't require GPS coordinates, that a relationship built on surveillance isn't a relationship at all. Grant had taught me what I didn't want. Andrew was teaching me what I did, and that semi-truck, that anonymous driver who'd unknowingly carried my tracker to Canada, she'd given me the greatest gift of all, freedom. The kind of freedom you can only appreciate after you've lost it. The kind you fight to protect once you get it back. I had it now, and I was never letting it go.